With a slight caveat, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, which is, if I'm opting out and I'm deleted entirely from a database, there's a risk that I'll at some point be opted back in. That could be, I targeted again for. There are some, and again, this is such a case by case, organisation by organisation thing, that if your business needs to keep hold of an email address because you have to blacklist that email address from receiving communications, that's the only way to achieve true opt-out. So we never email you by suppression of a piece of personal data. Then you've got to write that out you've got to write that out. That's my process for suppression, right? I have to keep this email address when I've been told not to email them, so I can not email them. And you have to document that, have a legal basis, the lawful basis for that, and go from there. I would argue. I mean, But in general, you're absolutely right, Ben. I think in general, that when someone says cease and desist, you pretty much have to delete.
Always in relation to direct marketing, anyway. Yes.
Where would you recommend that people go and look for any further guidance? Are there any particular?
Great resources. Well, the ICO in the UK, Information Commission Office, has a website full of good stuff. They also have a blog that addresses the sort of the zeitgeist of the conversation, and they have a really good series on myth busting. So we talk consent, we talk legitimate interest, we've talked fines. Hopefully not to the point where we've given them more exposure than other areas perhaps, but the myth busting series is really good. You've got the DMA and the IAB, who both have excellent resource sites for GDPR from a marketing and advertising perspective. That's where I would probably direct someone initially. And then if it's not self-learning, self-awareness going online, then I'd say start talking to your peers. If you have in-house counsel, they'll be aware of this.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, professional organisations, they're all there. They're setting out the standards that they're expecting from their members as well. They're a big help. And other law firms as well, nearly every single law firm I'm coming across are doing free workshops on how to become GDPR compliant. So it's there is a lot of help out there. But the ICO website, I mean, it's an interesting website, but that's updated almost weekly because they're still catching up actually on how this is going to work. How the Article 29 Working Party, what the guidelines they're still producing and being updated and put into sort of fresh context in different circumstances. So it's something to keep an eye on. You can't just read it and think you know it all. It's just a constantly shifting landscape.
It is. It is the very practice of trying to hit a moving target from a moving vehicle. I think the other thing as well is the SEO has an SME helpline that I'm sure is very busy, and I'm sure I know for a fact it's very busy, and I'm sure you would need to clear a few hours of your day out if you're going to ring them. But that's a great resource because when you do get through, when you do speak to someone there, it really does put your mind at rest about the approach they're taking. This is a supervisory authority that is pragmatic, that's trying to educate and support the education, the sort of the journeys that are required to get towards compliance. So that's another resource as well that I'd point small businesses in.